Tuesday, we celebrate Halloween. And my feelings on Halloween hasn't always been where they are now. As a matter of fact, my feelings began to shift as I got older, learned a little bit more about the history of the day. But even more so than the history of the day was the behavior of folks on Halloween, because that's where I think what really has turned me the most is that people have created something that wasn't necessarily created for evil per se, but they've turned it into a vehicle where evil can be done, and they think they can make an excuse because it was that particular day. Let me tell you what I mean. They can go out here and destroy property and hit people over the head and steal bags, the kids' candy bags, and vandalism and violence and all kinds of crazy things. And then whenever someone would ask, or someone will ask, well, why did you do that? What was going on with you? And they'll look at you in all good conscience and say, well, it was Halloween. As if because it was Halloween gave them a license now to destroy somebody's property or to hurt somebody. And see, that's the problem that I have with Halloween, because something that, like I said, if you look into the history of it, it kind of has some negative connotation to it to a degree. Even though I don't think that was the original intent, it still kind of is on the fringe, because it was still dealing with ghosts and dealing with the transition from the dead to I mean, it's not necessarily like it was supposed to be kind of like the ending of summer. And the history is long. I started to read it. I thought about it, and I said, no, I won't get it, because it gets long and you could get lost. But it really was to signify kind of like the end of summer as we go into fall. It was kind of like a signifying of that. But it also had a connection to spirits and the dead, and to keep the dead and the spirits away. But it got turned over time. Over time, more and more, it got turned. And at this point, it's one of the most popular holidays that we have, which doesn't surprise me in 2017, based on the fact that we focus so much on negativity, based on the fact that if you even look at a lot of our movie and TV programming, it focuses on ghoulish, devilish, demonic. A lot of the shows, a lot of the movies focus on those demonic. I'm trying to think in terms of what word I want to call it, but it's a focus on the demonic. So I'm not surprised that it has become one of the most popular days in the year, because we've become more and more of a demonic focused culture. I put on my sites yesterday on my social media, and I haven't had a chance to do too much lately. I'm even backed up on recording the show and getting it out and posting the show, because my schedule this semester really took off in terms of every night of the week I have something that I'm doing. And so my time of posting the show and being on social media shortened. But I put on it yesterday. I still don't understand the appeal of looking raggedy. I just don't. I'm sorry. I don't care what the fad is. I don't care what the style is. It's not a matter of sounding like my grandmother sounded. It's not a matter of that. It really is not. I don't understand the appeal of looking raggedy. I just don't. And that's what, to me, whenever I see all these folks running around here in ripped jeans, that's the way it looks to me. It looks raggedy. You're running around here with clothes that are torn up, so it looks raggedy. I don't understand the appeal of looking raggedy. But see, that's all a part of that, as I said, that focus on negative and grungy and rebellion and anti-establishment, and all of that is a part of this. So I'm not surprised that Halloween is the most popular holiday, and they said they expected this year to be the biggest ever. I heard a report a couple weeks ago that said the projections are that this Halloween more will be spent than ever. And I'll have to see if I can find it while maybe some music on something. I'll see if I can pull up that report. We have that wonderful thing called Google, where we can actually go now and find things in a minute. So maybe while I'm off air, I'll go to Google and see if I can find that report. But the projection is that this Halloween will be the biggest yet. I mean, it's gotten to the point where I know, like, we've always traditionally seen the colorful Christmas lights. More and more over time, I've begun to see Halloween lights, the orange and the white and whatever the Halloween colors are, black. I actually seen those lights, and, we always kind of saw decorations every now and again. But now folks light up their houses for Halloween. So I've seen that even increase over time. So again, back to this focus on the demonic, back to this focus on the raggedy, back to this focus on anti-establishment, rebellion, resistance, going against the grain. I mean, because in all honesty, that's what a lot of this stuff that we see is about. I mean, and again, these are my personal opinions. To me, a body full of tattoos, that's not attractive to me either. I mean, you're talking about, I mean, that looks, and I've said it before, to me, that looks like somebody took spray paint. Whenever you graffiti a wall or spray paint your house or whatever, that's what tattoos look like to me. And I'm not talking about the little rose on the ankle or the little rose on the shoulder. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the one where almost the entire arm or the entire body is covered in ink. And people actually think that look good. They're entitled to their opinion. Just like I'm entitled to mine, they're entitled to theirs. But in my opinion, it looks a mess. An entire body covered with ink, an entire arm, and in some cases, face, neck, chest, back, genital areas, private areas covered in tattoos. So we seem to be really focused on those things. The longer time goes and the more of the progression, the more we seem to be focusing on doing things the wrong way. Now, I'm quite sure this is not the first time. So those of you who are biblical scholars, I'm sure we can go back into the Bible and see where there was a time period where everything was off as well. So back to Halloween. Over time, what people have done was something that was a celebration and fun, started turning dastardly. Folks started doing acts of violence, acts of vandalism. I know when I was a kid, the 30th, which would be Monday, was called Goosey Night. That's what we called it. It was Goosey Night, but it's also known as Mischief Night. So that was the night on the 30th, in which sometimes they still do. Matter of fact, I know they still do it because last year my car got hit with an egg. You get people that will get out there with eggs, kids, and as cars are passing by, throw eggs at the cars. Now, a couple of things. One, that's not safe because the driver can be distracted whenever the thump hits the car, or depending on where the egg hit. If it hits on the windshield, it may blur their vision or take their vision off focus. Also, the surprise of the egg hitting the car could throw a driver off. And once that egg gets on your paint, it is very hard to get out. You almost have to wash that immediately, because if you don't, the substance of the egg settles into your paint. And very quickly too. If it dries, if it gets into the paint of your car, that stain is very hard to come out because of the materials and the composition of whatever is in egg. Once it gets into car paint, it's very hard to come out. So you have people that stand and hide behind things, and as you're driving along the street, they throw eggs. That's one thing they do. If they don't throw them while you're driving, they may come along while your car is parked and just bust eggs all over it. They'll take soap or chalk and write on your windows. And I remember some of these things, whenever we were kids. I never took part in that. For one, my mother and father would never let us take part in that. Not that I wanted to, because it just wasn't about me to be going out destroying somebody else's property, even as a kid. Didn't make sense to me. And it definitely doesn't make sense to me as an adult. But then that's one level of mischief. But then you have other kinds of pranks that go on, all in the name of because it's Halloween. And that's where my feelings really have shifted over Halloween. I've shared with you before, there are certain holidays that I just really don't like being bothered with, because people use those holidays as an opportunity to take license to be absolutely stupid. New Year's in my mind is one of them. Halloween is one. You don't get it as bad with a Labor Day or a 4th of July, or maybe a Christmas or Thanksgiving. You don't get it as bad on those holidays. But there's some that seem to have more negativity associated with others. Like on New Year's, folks associate getting drunk to bring the new year in. They associate drinking and partying to bring the new year in. And then they get behind the wheel of a car. So after they've done all that drinking and partying to usher the new year in, they get behind the wheel of a 2,000 plus pound weapon, because that's what it becomes whenever you're inebriated. a 2,000 plus pound weapon. So that's why New Year's, I make a beeline from my house to the church, from the church back to my house. And I pray that when I'm making that beeline, that I make it from those two destinations without encountering someone who's been out partying, so that if something were to occur, that they can say, oh, well, it was New Year's. Well, Halloween is kind of like that same thing. And it's gotten worse over time. The folks with these masks, I was reading something whenever I was kind of doing a little bit of research, because I knew I was going to talk about it this morning, about this whole thing with the clowns. You had the whole clowning thing on, to the point where they made a movie about these clowns. But that's when folks were going around with clown costumes on, killing people, vandalizing, just being destructive in clown uniforms. You see somebody walking up in a clown uniform, you better look out, because they're up to no good. And then it got so crazy because even if it was somebody that was about good, people were afraid of it. So if it wasn't somebody that was trying to pull a prank in a clown suit, somebody just was either they work as a clown for kids' parties or what have you. Now people are afraid of them. So I found something on Halloween, and I'm going to go ahead and play it. It's about 3 minutes, because it provides an interesting view on Halloween as well. So I'm going to play that link. And this is their words, not mine, which I happen to, for the most part, agree with. And they're looking at it from a biblical standpoint.
The origins of Halloween. What does the Bible say about them? The Bible's answer. The Bible does not mention Halloween. However, both the ancient origins of Halloween and its modern customs show it to be a celebration based on false beliefs about the dead and invisible spirits or demons. The Bible warns, "There must never be anyone among you who consults ghosts or spirits or calls up the dead." Deuteronomy 18:10-12, the Jerusalem Bible. While some view Halloween as harmless fun, the Bible indicates that the practices associated with it are not. At 1 Corinthians 10:20 and 21, the Bible says, "I do not want you to be participants with demons. You cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of demons too." New International Version. Halloween History and Customs. 1. Samhain. The origin of Halloween can be traced to this ancient pagan festival celebrated by Celtic people over 2,000 years ago, states the World Book Encyclopedia. The Celts believed that the dead could walk among the living at this time. During Samhain, the living could visit with the dead. However, the Bible clearly teaches that the dead are conscious of nothing at all. Ecclesiastes 9:5. Thus, they cannot contact the living. 2. Halloween costumes, candy, and trick-or-treat. According to the book Halloween, An American Holiday, An American History, some of the Celts wore ghoulish costumes so that wandering spirits would mistake them for one of their own and leave them alone. Others offered sweets to the spirits to appease them. In medieval Europe, the Catholic clergy adopted local pagan customs and had their adherents go from house to house wearing costumes and requesting small gifts. The Bible, on the other hand, does not permit merging false religious practices with the worship of God. 3. Ghosts, vampires, werewolves, witches, and zombies. These have long been associated with the evil spirit world. Halloween trivia. The Bible clearly states that we should oppose wicked spirit forces, not celebrate with them. 4. Halloween pumpkins or jack-o'-lanterns. In medieval Britain, supplicants moved from door to door asking for food in return for a prayer for the dead, and they would carry hollowed-out turnip lanterns, whose candle connoted a soul trapped in purgatory. Halloween, from pagan ritual to party night. Others say that the lanterns were used to ward off evil spirits. During the 1800s in North America, pumpkins replaced turnips because they were plentiful as well as easy to hollow out and carve. The beliefs behind this custom, the immortality of the soul, purgatory, and prayers for the dead, are not based on the Bible.
All right, so that's one perspective on Halloween, and a lot of it I totally agree, because as I said, in one respect, people see it as a celebration. But in another respect, a celebration of what? And that's where, for me, it becomes, because as a kid, we didn't know no difference. We actually went around house to house. We did trick or treat. My mother would take us up and down the block because we didn't go far. We went up and down to the houses we knew. We didn't go to houses we didn't know, but we went to places and houses that we knew up and down the block. And every now and again, because even when I was a child, they would always tell you, if you got an apple, don't eat it, because the fear was someone might have put a razor blade in it. That was about the extent of what you thought somebody might do if they were trying to cause harm to somebody. But nowadays, it's way beyond just the possible razor blade and the apple. I mean, you start talking folks that might put some poison in the apple. They might shoot a needle in there. You might put something in it that'll cause somebody a disease. You got that. The same thing with the candy. So now folks have kind of moved away, or a lot of folks, not probably not enough, but a lot of folks have kind of moved away from giving candy and any of that at the doors, for the fear of, if a child were to get sick or hurt, that they may get blamed for it. And I don't blame them for that, because we are in a very litigious society. We are in a lawsuit happy society. So you just never know when someone may now blame you for something that's occurred to them. So years ago, going back probably 20 or more years ago, I stopped giving out candy at Halloween. Matter of fact, I stopped opening the door for Halloween because I keep the light out. I don't open the door for a couple of reasons. Because, again, you have people that have turned something that was kind of meant to be fun into something evil. So now somebody rings your doorbell pretending to be a Halloween kid, a kid looking for trick or treat. And as it turns out, it's somebody that's ready to break into your house. I mean, it has wheeled out of control. That's my point. And somebody will disagree with me. Somebody listening right now would just say, no, you think too deep. No, that's not what's going on. Well, that may be the case, but I tell you what, I don't participate in Halloween. I don't open the door. I keep my lights out. When folks come to the door ringing the bell, it's as if nobody was home. And I've done that for like probably over 20 years now. Matter of fact, most of when my children, even when my children were small, didn't really do. I mean, maybe I might take them to the mall or something, maybe. Or maybe take them to a friend's house, get in the car, go to the people that we know. Maybe that. But that was about the extent of it. It wasn't walking up and down the street ringing doorbells, saying trick or treat. And if you look at my mother's photo albums, you'll see pictures of me and my sister dressed in our little costumes on Halloween. But it was a different day. And as I said, folks use something as a Halloween because we focus so much on negativity, because we focus so much on the ghoulish, because we focus so much on the demonic. Folks use that for a lot of misbehavior. And the misbehavior in 2017 is a lot different than the misbehavior and mischief 40, 50, 60 years ago. It just is. Now, you can say what you want to say, but you have folks now that are carrying weapons. You have folks now that are doing all kinds of crazy things. Again, when I was a child, maybe, if you were a kid that didn't have a parent or an adult with you, a teenager might run by and try to grab your bag. Maybe. But at this point, it's way beyond that. It's way beyond the possible razor blade and the apple. It's way beyond. And then when someone is hurt or killed or their property is damaged and the person stands and has to face the consequences, when asked, why did you do that? The excuse is, it was Halloween. See, that doesn't make sense to me. So that's why, again, you may or may not agree. That's why we put the disclaimer out there. The views and opinions heard on this show are solely those of the host and the guest. Well, that is the view solely of the host. So you can rest assured on Tuesday and Monday night, I will not be celebrating Halloween in any sense, form, or fashion. I will not be opening my door. My light will not be on. Because again, it's just, we've taken it too far. And yet, that's projected to be one of the biggest days of the year. I told you the internet and Google is a wonderful thing if you use it right. I was sharing with the children the other day, the advent of all this technology and the easy access that we have is like fire. It can be a weapon or a tool. Fire is the same way. It's like a weapon or a tool. Fire can cook a meal or it can burn your house down. Fire can keep you warm or it can kill you. Well, the internet and Google and all that is the same way. If you use it wisely, it's a wonderful tool. But if you use it for abuse or for destruction, it is a weapon. So as I shared with you, I told you, I heard the report the other day that we expect this Halloween to break a record. And sure enough, I found the article. I see it here in USA Today. Halloween sales of candy and costumes expected to break a record. Retailers are in for a treat this Halloween, with revelers expecting to spend more on costumes, candy, and decor than ever before. Halloween spending will hit a record $9.1 billion, according to the National Retail Federation, which surveyed shoppers with research firm Prosper Insights and Analytics. Those pumpkin-themed purchases were surpassed by 8.3%, the previous all-time high of $8.4 billion spent on Halloween in 2016. So we're looking to go from $8.4 billion that was spent last year to $9.1 billion to be spent this year. There will be increases across all purchasing categories, Pam Goodfellow, principal analyst with Prosper Insights, said in a statement. Expect consumers to be on the lookout for early bird promotions both online and in-store as they hunt for the best items to complete their costumes and embellish their homes. Shoppers expect to splurge the most on costumes, spending $3.4 billion. Candy passed out to eager trick-or-treaters is expected to tally in at $2.7 billion, and at that same amount is projected to be spent on the jack-o'-lanterns, glow-in-the-dark skeletons, and other decorations revelers put out for the fall holiday. Consumers are also looking for deals. The survey found that 47% of those polled plan to go to discount stores for what they need, while 38% will go to a location that focuses specifically on Halloween, and another 22% will make their purchases online. It has been a challenging year for the retail industry, with iconic store chains like Sears and Macy's shuttering scores of locations, and Toys R Us announcing this week that it has filed for bankruptcy protection. But Halloween and the holiday season appear to be bright spots on the horizon. The International Council of Shopping Centers is projecting retail sales to be up 3.8% this holiday season, with the average shopper expected to make $728.40 in purchases. Consultancy Deloitte is even more optimistic, predicting that retail sales, not counting cars and gasoline, will increase 4% to 4.5% from November to January, resulting in revenue of $1.4 trillion to $1.5 trillion. And on Thursday, Forrester Research said it projects that online sales will soar 12% this holiday season to $129 billion, up from $115 billion in 2016. And that is from USA Today on September the 21st. Halloween sales of candy and costumes expected to break a record. Now think about that. Spending on Halloween alone is expected to be $9.1 billion. $9.1 billion, and that's just for Halloween. And that's up 8.3% from last year, which was a previous all-time high of $8.4 billion. That's what I'm telling you. Over time, this holiday has become the most popular, and yet the focus is on the demonic. The focus is on skeletons. The focus is on demonic masks. The focus is on hollowed out jack-o'-lanterns, glow-in-the-dark skeletons. My point exactly. Something to think about.